Silence your phone before anybody gets mad at you.
Already is.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have 6 o'clock. I will now call the March 12th, 2024 Bermuda Run Town Council meeting to order. Quick reminder, please make sure you silence your phones. Thank you. I want to recognize we have a quorum. We do have one council member missing, Mike Ernst. With that, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bangers coming in.
It is the intent of the town council to make solemn the proceedings of this meeting and the business brought before the governing board, to offer the opportunity for a reflective moment of silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Statement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, pursuant to NC General Statutes 160A86 and 160D109 and the Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Policy adopted November 9th, 2010, and further endorsed on August 9th, 2022, I would ask each of you before you adopt the agenda if there's any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before the Town Council for a vote at this meeting tonight. If so, please speak up and let the council know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, adoption of the agenda. Council has had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any revisions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there was 2 typos in the staff memos for items 9A and 9B. The word annexation should be replaced by 1070 in both of those. So I would ask that council approve those with those typos with those changes, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved with the changes.
Changes, yes.
Motion by Mr. Tedder, second by Ms. Nelson. Raise of hand. Those approved. 4-0. Thank you. Item number 6, approval of the February 13, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes. Any revisions?
I move.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Schaefer, second by Ms. Zeliga. Raise of hands. 4-0. Thank you. Agenda item number 7, citizens' comments. So we have 4 individuals who've signed up. Mr. Williams, do you want to give a quick recap of the time frame and your signals?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each speaker shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak and shall immediately stop when his or her 3 minutes are up. When you approach the dais and begin to speak to the podium, speak to the dais, state your name and address before speaking. Please address the council as a whole and not ask for any verbal exchange back and forth between the council and the speaker. It's not the intent of the public comment section to require the council to answer any impromptu questions. There should be no discussion between the speaker and the members of the audience. I will be the timekeeper. The change that we've made is rather than prodding you along at various points and distracting you, I'm only going to remind you at the 30-second mark and when you're done. So with these little flashcards, I'll kind of keep you to those frames. So kind of monitor your time accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
All right, our first speaker, Lenny Ring. You're already on.
Thank you. Good evening, council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Lenny Ring. I live at 125 Kilbourne Drive, Bermuda Run. I wish to thank each of you for serving on this council. Several months ago, I spoke to the previous council concerning painting the picture of Bermuda Run and what it would look like in the future. This painting has now been passed down to you. In front of you, you will be talking about scheduling meetings for annexation, for 1070s, and all of that requires you to take a brush stroke. I ask all of my neighbors, all residents, to bring all factual information that you can to this board. I ask this board to weigh that information, those facts, gather your own facts before you pick up that brush and you make that stroke to determine what the future of Bermuda Run is going to look like. Thank you all for your time. I urge the council to select a venue that's going to be large enough to have these public hearings and announce that fairly rapidly to the population. Thank you very much. And I thank you for your efforts in coming to the right decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Next, we have Aaron De Niro.
Hello, my name is Aaron De Niro. I live at 147 Haywood Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today and appreciate you all serving on this board. I stand today opposed to any more 1070 exemptions being issued in our community for the foreseeable future. I understand that this body has the authority to issue 1070 exemptions, but you also have the discretion not to. After all, the 1070 exemptions increase the amount of allowable impervious area to be paved than are currently allowed under normal watershed restrictions. Those restrictions exist for a reason, and no amount of engineering reports, some of the reports that are provided by the very people that seek the 1070 exemptions, no amount of reports are going to change the fact that I can see with my very own eyes. We're turning into a community of asphalt. I've lived in this community for the better part of 20 years. I've been at my current residence on Haywood Drive. It's a parcel that abuts the Hall Walker development that's being considered for 12 years. The water runoff is increasingly unpredictable, and it's increasingly destructive. The noise levels from I-40 are increasingly present. The trees and green space and the wildlife supported by it are vanishing, and they're vanishing noticeably. When the exception becomes the rule loses all meaning. I went back best I could for 5 years of these meetings in minutes and could not find an instance where this body denied a 1070 request in the watershed. Development's going to continue to come in our area, or come to our area, and this stance against 1070 exemptions is by no means in opposition to all development. Rather, it's a plea for common sense governance. Granting a hearing to increase the amount of asphalt in our watershed is just against good common sense, and it's not in the best interest of our current residents of the Bermuda Run community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Carl Carney. Okay. And our last speaker, Michelle Sousa.
Hi, my name is Michelle Sousa, and I live at 116 Rosewalk Lane. I thank you for allowing me to speak. So I just have a couple of, I guess like everybody else, a little concerns, a couple of questions as far as if we know that the same developer that developed the project behind Walgreens is in fact in talks and meaning of developing with a Lowe's property that they're building. Previously, we had dismembered the big, large community of apartments that they wanted to. So I'm wondering, are in talks with that same developer as far as developing behind those?
So-
if I stated it's not exchanged back and forth.
I'm sorry, okay. So that's, if, you could let us off, because obviously we have concerns with the traffic and the runoff. And then additionally, to inform, us as far as if the developer on the Hall Walker project. They were earth moving machines and blocking the Atkinville Valley. Feels like a sign of what's to come. Obviously, we cannot stop progression, but we do ask that it stays on 801 instead of the Yadkin Valley Road.
Thank you. Moving on to, let me just recommend any questions you might have, you're welcome to reach out to our town manager via email. Happy to answer any of those questions that he can. So just as a close the loop on that. Number 8, presentation from, excuse me, Joseph Ashburn, Davie County Emergency Services Director. I've asked Mr. Ashburn to provide us an update on Davie County Emergency Services. Joseph and I met multiple times at the listening sessions that were being held across the county at various fire department or EMS locations. And Joseph and I had a chance to chat, and we connected then and promised to have an opportunity to come and present to council. I will remind the audience that, as our standard protocol, council is welcome to ask questions of Mr. Ashburn, but we will not take questions from the audience. Again, that's a standard protocol in our town council meetings. Mr. Ashburn.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to come out and kind of give you what EMS is currently, if I put it the current state of EMS type deal. Well, a couple of fun facts and everything. Davie County is 266.6 square miles of our coverage that we'd go through and provide. Out of that, 21 miles of interstate runs through it, and Highway 64 is the longest route in North Carolina. Is 604 miles, excuse me, from the Tennessee line to the Outer Banks, and we got it running right through our county. So we've got some major thoroughfares that go through. So what are we doing to prepare for calls, and how we're going to go through and take care of the citizens of the county and for you guys here in Bermuda Run? Davie County's population in 2021 was 43,533. Estimated July of 22 at 44,090. So there's a large population that we're having to go through and address. The way that we're going through and doing this is we have 48 full-time employees. Wrote down as far as 42 on the emergency side for 911, 2 community paramedics, and Greg was just running the call right down the road here. He's my lead community paramedic, and we have 4 individuals that run a convalescent service, and we're going to get in there and break those down. We do have 18 team members that are part-time, so we've got a lot of staffing, but we want to add more to it so we can go through and get that, make sure we have the personnel to take care of the trucks. Our stations are strategically placed. Our main EMS office is there in Mocksville at 114 Dr. Slate Drive. We run 2 ALS trucks out of that, which is Advanced Life Support. Station 2 is up here in Farmington, so that truck will come in and serve Bermuda Run. We run 1 ALS truck out of that, and that's where our convalescent truck happens to be housed. Station 3 covers the south end of the county on Highway 601 South. We run 1 ALS truck out of there. And Station 4 was the new construction there off of Canatcha Road. So Station 2 and Station 4 are the 2 trucks that come in and service Bermuda Run. Like I said, they are strategically placed to be able to have the response times that we need to go through to have the coverage. We are preparing for the future, looking at the northwest corner of the county to put a Station 5, so that end of the county is there. So we're doing a lot of planning and the processes going through. EMS wise, you may not see the same people every time that you call. We run a 24-hour shift, work 7 days a week. So we work 7 to 8 days a month is what it ends up being for the 911 crews. The convalescent service is a 12-hour truck, and they work 7 days a week. So they're from 7A to 7P. The community paramedic is supposed to be 12 hours, 7 days a week, but they end up doing a lot of coverage. They get calls, referrals from law enforcement, from EMS on either overdoses, somebody having a mental health crisis, and just needing some help going through. So Greg and Shannon are constantly on call. So EMS we've grown. It's not just 911 anymore. What we have now is 3 different divisions out of EMS. We have an emergency division, which is the 911 crews that handles all the stuff as far as chest pain, strokes, traumatic events, from accidents to falls, to assist law enforcement, to assist the fire department. So that truck is staffed 24 hours a day. The next division that we have is going to be our convalescent. So this service is something new to us. We've had it about 2 years now. So this service actually provides non-emergency transports. So if anybody needs rides that is bedridden, can't ride or anything like that in cars, we take people to doctor's appointments, dialysis, return trips home. We actually take people to hospice and bring them back so the families can go through and get the respite care and everything, so the caregivers can go through and get a little bit of a break. Those convalescent ones need to be pre-scheduled, and we'll go through and work with the insurances to make sure that all that is covered. The next is the community paramedic program. This program is the reason I had Greg to come up, is the biggest growing part of our division. Community paramedic is run off of 3 different grants, so nothing's coming from the county yet to cover this program. This program takes referrals from law enforcement, from EMS when we go out on calls, even from hospitals. So the mental health crisis, we partner with Daymart and Old Vineyard to go through with 2 of the resources so we can get somebody there to start the rehab process for the recovery. Substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drug related, again, we have resources for detox, which was Daymart, and then Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist there in High Point. We take patients there. So there's multiple rehabs for long-term facilities, which requires mental health, requires health assessments, and our staff actually goes through and takes those individuals to the facilities to get all the checkups and all the reports and everything that they need to be able to go through and get them into those long-term facilities. We do have, in a short amount of time, multiple success stories as far as at least 7 people that has been into long-term care. And this is coming from a lot of heart, compassion, and everything from the staff. We are taking on a few congestive heart failure patients, so hospital discharges. They're actually going out doing some education. So part of that is home safety assessments. When our crews go out, we look for fall hazards. We look for anything along those lines to make sure that we're able to go through and provide the best services we can. Fire services have Fire Prevention Week, different things along those lines. On EMS, we have EMS Week, but we don't cover a whole lot. But with this program, we're actually able to get in there and do some preventive stuff to help with the patients and all. They also go out to our frequent callers that needs a little bit of resources, don't really need an ambulance, does a lot of education. We've been doing home vaccines whenever the individuals can't get to the doctor's appointments or anything. We actually pick it up, go administer it, take all the paperwork back. The medical assistant treatment program is something new. There's multiple counties throughout the state. What this is doing for ours is we've got everything set up. So we use Southern Family Medicine as a partner. So if somebody has a addiction or anything along those lines, what we're able to do is administer Suboxone, which takes that away for they can't overdose for a 24-hour period. So we're constantly going out for 7 days or a little bit longer to be able to get them into that rehab and into that treatment facility. So that community paramedic program has got a lot of responsibility and has grown very rapidly. A little bit about the equipment that we have. June the 19th of 1969, we purchased our first ambulances for $3,000. I have asked the salesperson if they will price match, and they won't come close. So now we've actually we put in a letter of intent for 3 ambulances, and they're $368,000 a piece. So the price of everything has increased, but I'm proud of our county for going through and backing EMS and for the care of the citizens. And it does take about 3 years to get an EMS unit. So that's the reason we put the letter of intent in early. We've been going through and added more to the fleet so we can cut down on mileages. So we actually rotate them through. What we have to serve you all and Davie County is 11 ambulances and 1 convalescent unit. So we have 12 ambulances for the county. We also run 5 trucks a day. So that gets us the coverage everywhere that we're needing. The quick response vehicles, you may have pulled in and saw mine or Greg sitting outside. And what that is these are state certified vehicles. We have everything that the state requires to be paramedic level, but only thing we don't do is do non-transport. So they are inspected and certified by the state. So what we do is we run backup calls for these with these trucks whenever all the ambulances are tied up. So there's not a lapse in care. So they respond to assist in need, and also if the crews are needing help with some, where you have to have 2 paramedics on a truck, then we're able to get that truck out there to kind of help. The other thing it does is response to death calls. We have 4 medical examiners in the county, and this is part of the responsibilities of some of the administrators. The call volume, when we sit back and look at this, last year we run 6,200 calls. This is between 911 and the convalescent, so the trucks are staying busy all the time. The community paramedic was an additional 1,108 referrals in 23. And the scary thing for me, when you sit back and look at it, when you look at 422 call referrals already for 2024, we're going to far exceed last year's. The word's getting out what the community paramedics are doing, and that is a lot of volume and everything that we're doing. So we're asking for additional resources on the community paramedic side. So what we're seeing EMS in the future, we're going to build a 5th station and hopefully put the 6 truck on. We're wanting to add a community paramedic to assist with the aging. I'm set on one of the committees as far as the aging committee. So what we're looking at doing with this is with that referral from the aging committee is to be able to add another community paramedic that can go out and help with medications, do education with the aging population. We're wanting to add a peer support specialist to help with the recovery and the community paramedic. That's been added in this time with grants, but we're wanting to add an additional so that way somebody can actually be peer support and answer a lot of the calls and take care of ones that have mental health and substance abuse. Excuse me. Another thing that we're wanting to do is add on blood products to the supervisor vehicle. So what that means is if you have a traumatic event and you're losing a lot of blood internally or anything, we can actually start blood in the field to actually increase the chance of survival. So that's coming in the near future. We're wanting to update the training equipment so we can keep a high standard of care for the citizens. And we're looking at adding another convalescent unit in the future to go through to be able to take those transports. Now we're turning transports down, but we work around it to be able to take care of it. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the citizens the best that we can. This is my contact information up there. It's got my phone number, email address. That my phone is always on. Greg's is up there where he's the paramedic coordinator, community paramedic coordinator with his phone number and office phone. So if there's any questions or you have referrals that you need to go through, then you have our information. And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be able to stand up and present to you, kind of give hopefully a reassurance where EMS is. So whenever if something happens, you don't have to worry about, you've got coverage coming.
Any questions?
Now, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
I do have a question. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Ashman. Thank you so very much. I was just looking at that community paramedic, the fastest growing area. What is the metric that you're looking at in terms of measuring that growth? Is it the number of calls? Is it the grants you're getting? Is it staff increase? What's the metric? in
We
that
look
growth?
at different metrics off of it. One,
Okay.
it looks at reducing call volume for the 911 trucks.
Okay.
Because they're able to go out and take care of a lot of these calls prior to, especially like the frequent calls that we go through and get. And the other is the amount of referrals that we're receiving. There's a lot of people who have addictions, and I usually start out classes I teach, and I tell people, look, you have 1 second to answer this question. How many of you in the room has an addiction to something? And everybody should be putting their hands up because the cell phones is coffee, it's different things. We know how we feel when we don't have that stuff with us. And then when we start looking at the substance abuse, what that person's going through. So we're getting a lot more referrals to go through and help. Like I said, we've got at least 7 that's been accepted to long-term care to take care of that. And to me, that one has made that program worthwhile. But yes, those are some of the metrics that we're looking at as far as growth.
Correct.
So,
Thank you very much for all you're doing.
well, thank y'all for allowing me to come out and speak, and we appreciate being able to serve you guys.
Can you take a second for those of us who may be novices in this, can you explain the difference between EMS and my fire department if a 911 call comes in? How does that process work where you engage, they engage, et cetera?
We are very fortunate in our county because we have a tiered response. Whenever there's an emergency call comes out, that you're going to get EMS. But the distance-wise, we try to get the fire service involved, so they have a first responder program. So there are EMTs functioning in the EMS system, so they will get there prior to start patient care, and then we come in and work together as far as getting the patients moved to the trucks, but getting that communications in there, and then we go through and transport. They're clear to go back and run more calls. But that's what that is a tiered response. So if you have something that happens, say at Sheets, then you may have a Moxville truck coming, so Smith Grove will be there to provide care until that EMS truck can get there. So it may not be one of the trucks that's here close, so where we're covering the whole county, then that's the big thing is that tiered response. So you may get fire, EMS, and rescue, depending upon what the calls are.
Okay.
So we sit down with 911 and set the responses. So,
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
you're very welcome. Thank you. Anything else?
Well, again, thank you very
Thank you
much
very
for the
much.
service you provide. Okay, moving on to item number 9, proposed action 9A, call for public hearing, 1070 request Davy Construction. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I think before we get into the item on 9A, I think it's important just to just brief or let council know, if you recall, back in late last summer, July of last summer, the council, by its own action, decided to pause any further reviews of any 1070 allocation requests, as there was NCDEQ, which is the North Carolina Department of Environment and Quality, was scheduled to do an audit on the town's program. I think that it's also important to state that NCDEQ never mandated the town cease its allocation or its application or approvals or hearings of this 1070 program. You, on your own accord, chose to do that. As many of you know, the North Carolina Department of Environment Quality, they oversee the water supply watershed program, which includes how counties and/or municipalities, towns, administer their 1070 allocation programs, their water supply watershed programs. It's important to know that the DEQ completed those audits for not only the town of Bermuda Run, but also Davie County as well. The NCDEQ completed the audit for Davie County in September. They completed the audit for Bermuda Run in October of 2023. So the town knew, just from indication with our conversations with NCDEQ in November, that our tracking and our method of tracking was accurate. What occurred after that was some confusion in regards to the total amount of acreage within this, what is referred to as the Yadkin Forsyth water supply watershed area. There were conflicting acreage amounts referenced from the early 90s to the size of the entire area, and it's quick to note that this watershed not only is in Davie County, but it's also in Forsyth County, which includes, the jurisdictions of Clemens, the town of Bermuda Run as well. That took a process to try to ascertain what those amounts were. So we knew in November that our numbers were accurate, that our method was accurate. Our audit was almost complete in October, but this took time. While I've got to admit that I think when we originally started discussing this, we were hoping, and even indication from NCDEQ that they were going to wrap this up before December of the end of year, December 23. Now we're here. So we just received that report. Based on that report, there's some things that the town will have to do in terms of some documentation. There's some definitions that they would like to us have in our zoning ordinance. There's a update to an interlocal agreement with Davie County for our planning zoning services and what that actually covers. I think that was part of the confusion with NCDEQ having a multi-jurisdictional review of permits and things of that nature. But I think that the ultimate finding is that there were no issues with how the town was allocating its 1070 allocation. And I will add that the audit did result in the town gaining an additional 26.4 acres of 1070 allocation. So this is really a net gain for the town. Right. I think when we always, the reference was always to the 300 acres that was granted or allocated from Davie County. In reality, based on the audit, we're at 326.4 acres. So with that, with this pause being lifted now, your first request of 1070 is a request by Davie Construction Red 32 LLC. This applicant is petitioning the town of Bermuda Run for approval of 1070 provision for 0.044 acres, which is approximately 1,906 square feet. The total impervious of this site would be 55.71%. So I am recommending to you to call this for a public hearing for this request to be heard at your April 9th, 2024 meeting.
Yeah, and just to clarify for our audience, this topic, the next topic, and the next topic, all three of these are not a decision on this specific request. What's in front of council is the decision to hold a public hearing, which would fall next town council meeting. By statute, council cannot take action without having a public hearing. So tonight's decisions are about setting forth those public hearings to follow next month. Just to clarify, I heard some rumblings out there that tonight was the decision night. I want to clarify that. That's not what's in front of the council tonight. Questions for council?
Motion to approve the public hearing request?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tedder, second Schaefer. Show of hands, those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Item 9B, call for public hearing, 1070 request, Hall Walker. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similar to the previous request, this application was received late last year. So this is a request for approval for a 1070 provision for 59.54 acres of project area for a multi-use development project. It's quick to note that 6.57 acres is actually outside of the watershed area. The applicant is proposing 24.44 acres of impervious area, which would bring the total site of impervious area to 41.04%. I'm recommending that a public hearing for this request be set for April 9th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Meadwell. Question, council?
I make a motion that we have the public hearing for this request on April 9th.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Zeliga, second by Ms. Nelson. Show of hands, approval? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Item number 9C, call for public hearing annexation request, Paul Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If this council remembers, this is probably one of your very first actions that you did take as being sworn in as new council members. In January 9th of 2024, the council adopted a resolution directing the town clerk to investigate this annexation petition for contiguous and non-contiguous area. The clerk has submitted that certificate of sufficiency of the petition, which is included in your agenda package. Town manager is recommending that a public hearing for this request be set for April 9th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Meadwell. Any questions for Mr. Meadwell?
Motion to approve the request?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Nelson, second by Mr. Tedder. Show of hands approval? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Moving swiftly on, item 9D, resolution of support, Representative Julia Howard. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, in front of you, you have a resolution that staff has prepared. This resolution pertains to certain town charter amendments. Council and staff began discussing the desire and need of addressing language changes within several chapters of the town charter back in January of 2023. At one point, that led to me writing a white paper kind of advising on some of the issues raised with the charter. And what this resolution is doing is requesting assistance from the North Carolina General Assembly in amending the charter in three particular areas. One, it's the voting method of the mayor and council. Two, dealing with various administrative provisions. Those administrative provisions deal with the town manager having the authority to make basically employment decisions, hiring and firing of employees, appointment of the town clerk, which would be consistent with what most towns do as set forth in Chapter 160A. The final suggestion here with the resolution is that there's clarification of the voter mechanics of any proposed tax increase that would occur in this town. The charter provides that there must be voter approval. The language is not clear at all. I've discussed this with you guys at length, discussed it with the UNC School of Government, so we need clarification exactly on the mechanics. To make it clear, the decision still would lie with the registered voters in the town. The town council alone would not have the authority to increase taxes. It's just simply setting forth the mechanism that a proper referendum could be put before the voters at some point. So what the resolution is stating is that the council supports communication between town staff and Representative Julia Howard's office, legislative drafting, to work on cleanup language for the town charter.
And just to add a little more context to this, so I think the realization occurred when the town had the need for a primary for the first time in the town's history, because there was one more candidate, excuse me, than two per seat. So in this case, we had, essentially, there were two seats up for re-election, and we, instead of having four candidates or fewer, we had five. That fifth triggered the need for a primary. And any of you that care to know the details, that was a direct expense to the town to hold that primary. It's the right thing to do. It's what our charter said to do, but our learning lesson from that was, how can we solve for this going forward? And in fact, if you look at the county commissioner recent election, I believe the number is 8 in their primary. So there is a way to winnow down that total list down to the appropriate number without having to have that primary and that expense on the town. So that was sort of the trigger, and this was the opportunity to say what else can be cleaned up in our charter. Since we're going to be taking this charter to Julia Howard, let's go ahead and talk about what those other changes are, just adding a little more context to that. Comments, questions by council?
Motion to approve the resolution of
Second.
support.
Motion by Mr. Tedder, second by Ms. Zeliga. Show of hands? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Item 9E, resolution to amend Bermuda Run Tourism Development Authority membership and appointment. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a topic that has been brought up to council's attention for the last several months. If you recall, as part of the charter originally, town council was responsible for appointing these members. And as you probably realize, we were continuously coming back to you to find new members. So one of the things that we're asking to change is that you're not actually representing or appointing individuals, that you're actually going to approve that membership of representation from these organizations that primarily deal with tourism or bringing tourism to Bermuda Run. And those organizations are the Hampton Inn, Sterling Events, North Carolina Fusion, RISE, Bermuda Run Country Club, and Atrium Baptist Health. Also, with that, the authority membership, they shall, those individuals that they select from those organizations, they will be the ones that shall appoint and fill those vacancies. You will know who those names are. Previously, they would make recommendations. You would hear those recommendations, and then you would approve. This solely puts this responsibility on that membership to approve those. But also, as in the charter, you as town council appointed who that chairman is. The membership of that group of individuals should be the ones, like any other, like our planning board, things of that nature. They choose their own chairman for that group. So. There's an attached resolution stating this, and I'll turn it over, and town manager would recommend approval of that resolution.
So as an example, if we had another new entity come into town that would meet the qualifications of being a member of the TDA, the council would still have the responsibility to authorize that additional membership to that entity, but this change says who that entity offers up as a candidate is really left to the TDA group itself to decide.
You're absolutely
That's really the
correct on
gist
that.
of this,
You're
right?
absolutely correct.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Meadwell?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Nelson, second by Ms. Schaefer. Show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, council. Item number 10, town manager report and comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I go through some technical issues here, as each of you were able to participate in our work session hosted by the North Carolina League of Municipalities, I just want to say thank you. This was what a great opportunity for you individuals to go through Council Academy and to receive your ethics training, to have multi-jurisdictions there, to have, 4 sitting mayors be in attendance. Although Mayor Markland of Mocksville had to leave early, what an opportunity to spend time with your colleagues, and, to kind of quote what Mayor Markland said, we're only a few miles apart from each other, right? We experience the same issues, same problems, and kudos to you, Mayor, for agreeing to this. And I think it goes back to kind of talking about what County Manager Brian Barnett said last week. Just thankful. I don't know that you would get this in a different county, nor with other municipalities where we reach across and say, hey, come join us. Let's all learn. So thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it. I think there'll probably be more to come just with this positive experience. Also, you probably have recognized that NCDOT is doing a lot of plannings along the exit 180 and the Harper Road. If you recall, this was a joint project that DOT was going to landscape these interchanges. They'll probably have another year or so left to do this. Once that's completed, after a 2-year maintenance portion, that comes over to the town to maintain that. We were maintaining the area prior to NCDOT doing the redesign of the intersection, so it's looking good. The other partnership there, if the council remembers, Division 9 engineer Pat Ivy came to presented to this council probably almost January of 2023. And one of those issues that we continually heard about was, why wasn't a sound wall planted along that portion of the north side of I-40, and could we get more trees planted along there? Well, I'm happy to say, we went to Pat and said, hey, is there something that we could do? It wasn't originally in the scope of work for that, but if you go by there today, guess what? Hey, there's some trees there. So thank you to Pat Ivy for that. He listened, and that's the kind of relationship that we try to foster. The mayor and I have went to Pat's office many a time, and he has always welcomed us with open arms and always willing to listen to us. So I like to think that we have a special place in his heart, but I think he's that way with everybody that comes to that door. So as most of you have noticed, trying to just make the sign up for public comment a little more organized. If you recall, a couple meetings ago, had some sign-in sheets got taken. So next week or next month for your April 9th meeting, the sign-up sheets will be with the town clerk again, as they were today. Those sign-up sheets will be available at 5:30 for anyone wishing to sign up for the either the public comment period and or the public hearings for the 3 requests that you approve tonight. And lastly, just want to remind council of our planning session that's going to happen on March 26th. This is a very important meeting that we have as a group. This is going to be an all-day planning session in which we talk about various things with the comp plan, budget probably being probably one of the bigger tasks, but all-day event, and to that, and discussing with the mayor, it's vitally important that staff be there, all staff being there, because we all contribute to the services of this town. You need to hear from our staff, not just me. So the mayor and I have decided that we will close town hall for that day so that staff can participate in that. So that meeting invite should be going out sometime tomorrow or Thursday for this meeting. So really looking forward to that. I know that you've seen a brief agenda, what we're covering. It's going to be a full day. So really excited about that. Glad we're moving forward. We've done these in the past, but I don't know to the extent of how we're going to do it this time. So from my perspective, I'm very excited about this. So, Mr. Mayor, that is all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Meadwell. Let me first start with thanking town manager, our town attorney, in the work that occurred with the 1070 audit and the work with the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, the partnership with the county. No one in this room except those individuals and a couple of us realize how much work that was, ongoing support for the DEQ and helping provide them. Any of you who've been involved in an audit recognizes that it is a full lean-in energy to make sure you're providing the materials they request, answering their questions, being available, etc. So kudos to both of you for all that work. A lot of work behind the scenes to make that happen. I will tell you, Council Member Zeliga and I sat here as council members back in the July meeting, and I will tell you that I never imagined we'd be talking about the results of this audit in March of 2024. I'll just say it that way. But we're there. It's behind us. And as Andrews pointed out, the positive around that was that 8-month delay ultimately netted us 26 additional acres, which are precious acres when you're allocating 1070. So thank you again for all that work. Thank you, Mr. Ashburn. He may have, oh yeah, you're back here. Thank you for your support, your partnership, and I agree with you. I think I can't compare it to other counties, but I will say Davie County absolutely invests time, energy, and money for our first responders, our EMS, to make this county as safe as possible. The partnership with the Sheriff's Office, I would put it up against any county. But thank you again for your presentation and all that you and your organization do. Please relay to all of your staff our appreciation for all that you do, as well as our friends back from Smith Grove. Thank you for all that you do as well. Thank you for those of you that spoke tonight. Some of us are challenged with being able to stand up in front of folks and express our thoughts. I would tell you that I greatly appreciate anyone who stands up and takes the time to express to council, to me, and to staff your thoughts and your views. Those are vitally important. I also want to recognize that this is Women's History Month. Pardon me. And I'm going to start off by stating the obvious, that for the first time in this town's history, on this dais, there are 3 women council members. Not only does this reflect so much about how the people of the town view the importance of women in our town, but it also happens to represent the makeup of this town proportionally. So I am proud. I'm looking forward to seeing that picture eventually being hung up in there on the wall. I will unfortunately be a part of that picture. Otherwise, it would be a better picture. But I just want to thank the 3 of them, and I want to thank those other women who I've not called out tonight for all that they do in leadership in and around our town. And my hope is the 3 ladies here that are on the dais with me today continue to blaze the trail for future women who will come behind them and leaders of this town. So thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Smith Grove Fire Department is celebrating its 50th anniversary on Saturday, May 18th. Please plan to join them. I believe there's an online sign-up that you can register for. But I encourage you to go out there. I think it goes from 10 until 2. It's an opportunity to meet those who you hope you never have to meet in an emergency, but you have the opportunity to thank them in that point in time. So please mark your calendars for, excuse me, May 18th, Saturday. Also, they have a fundraiser. I won't get into the details of the fundraiser. We'll go out to their website, go out to their Facebook page, and sign up for their raffle. All that money goes to, obviously, a good cause. Excuse me. Now, moving into my other little speech, address signs. So this is the time for props. So this is mine, and this is not. But these are address signs that are reflective address signs. They have your number on them on both sides. I would encourage you one evening when you're driving home at night, as you pull into your driveway, ask yourself whether you can see your own address at night. Because if you can't, there's a fairly good chance first responders can't either. And I would say to you that seconds matter. And I've heard stories of some of our fire department personnel struggling with finding the right address. These are $15. If you're lucky, you can actually stand there and they'll make it right in front of you. And if you want to donate more than 15, we would encourage that as well. But I ask all of you to consider, please, for yourself, for your family, for your neighbors, please consider buying one of these and having it placed in your yard. You never know when you'll need it, and that's $15 very, very well spent. So,
Mr. Mayor, is that Smith Grove?
Smith Grove. Yeah, and it's also available at Advance. Any of your fire departments do that. I just happen to go more often to Smith Grove, but they have other colors, but I will tell you that the recommendation are kind of the blue and the green. You don't really want to have like the red or whatever because they have other indicators to them from a signage standpoint. But I would say either a blue or green would be a very attractive color out on your front yard, wherever. But again, seriously, next time you think of it when you're driving home, see if you can see your own address. People have very beautiful address signs that are not visible at night. And almost 50%, according to our fire personnel, almost 50% of their calls occur at night. So please don't be that statistic. This is a very, very inexpensive investment, so I encourage you to consider that. That part of the speech is over. Thank you. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about, the Hall Walker development. On April 9th, the council will have the option to either defer or approve/deny. So either defer or make the decision to approve or deny the 1070 request. I will share with you that the developer, as of February 29th, has acquired the Hall Walker properties, 60 acres. So from my perspective, the development really isn't a matter of if, it's more of a matter of what and how. I've said this in prior meetings and I'll say it again. There is no vote by this council that stops a Walker's Retreat development. That's not in front of this council. That development permits up to 528 housing units. They're proposing 505 housing units. While I don't want to discourage anyone from coming to a public hearing and speaking, I do want to be clear a month ahead of time that everyone who speaks understand what's in front of the council and what's not in front of the council. It's heartbreaking to talk with people who say things to me like, I don't want those apartments. I don't want that to be developed. That's not in front of this council. With that, I would ask the question for each of you to take away. What outcome from the 1070 request produces the results that you're seeking? Approval based on the site plan means there's a hybrid of townhomes and apartments, 157 townhomes, and the remainder of the 505 in apartments. Denial means, according to the developer, they are no longer able to develop to the same footprint for those townhomes, and they will need to drive that development to be apartment only or apartment almost fully, which means they're going to build up versus out. These are not my words. I'm sharing with you what came from the developer. So as I read the yard signs and the social media comments, it seems to me the preferred choice between these two options and only these two options is a combination of townhomes and apartments, because today that aligns with what we heard feedback from the residents as part of our comprehensive plan, where 63% of the population said they supported all housing types. Let me end with saying these are my thoughts only, but I feel compelled to share these with all of you tonight, a month before April. As always, reach out to me, call me, text me. I'm happy to meet anyone, any group, anyone, anywhere to talk about this issue. We absolutely, and we all insist on transparency and clarity. Reach out. Happy to talk with anyone about this issue. With that, I will ask if the council has any comments, closing comments.
No comment.
No comment. Thank you.
Actually, I do have a couple. That was a little bit heavy, but a little bit more lighthearted. First, I want to thank the staff for all of your work with early voting. I do know that this is an incredibly good service for our community, but I also know that it does cause some disruptions with Town Hall, and I appreciate you guys doing your best to continue your daily work. I also want to share on behalf of the Garden Club of the Town of Bermuda Run that they are doing a fundraiser, a geranium sale right now. You can find a lot of that information on the town's Facebook page. And in April, I know a lot of folks really depend on the shredding event that the Garden Club hosts. This is a fundraiser as well as being a very nice service. So you can bring all those documents that you want to securely shred. And I did have the pleasure, Christy Schaefer and I had the pleasure to meet with the Garden Club this past week. The Garden Club presented, I hope it's okay that I say this.
Absolutely.
The Garden Club presented a $5,000 donation/sponsorship of the Blue Heron Trail and the efforts with the Bermuda Run Vision Fund Committee to landscape the trail, to plant trees. And so we truly appreciate the efforts of the Garden Club of Bermuda Run. And that was all I was going to say. Thanks for everybody being here tonight.
Well done. Thank you for that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion, Mr. Tedder, second, Ms. Schaefer. Show of hands? Unanimous. Thank you all. We are adjourned.